Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Thursday. That means you have survived 3 days of this week, including hump day, and tomorrow is the party day, Friday. I'm looking forward to it, to getting my rest on the weekend. I hope you do get some also. Today I'll bring you the first video which is funny. It will make you laugh. Before we go to military news, which is serious and dark, I want to give you a little bit of a giggly humor. And of course, what better topic to do that than the Russian sham presidential election. I know it's an old topic, yeah, Putin won 87%, blah, 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 but check this out. You have not seen anything like it before. This is presidential election, voting, ballot, 2 women inside. One woman is, I guess she wants to be so close to the voters and so close to Putin's power, she has to cover herself in the ballots. Such a good feeling. Oh yes, give me more. So strange. What are they doing? All right, she gets back up. I guess reason got to her. And now we can see the V here. And it goes other way. Of course, she's not done yet. Just playing around with the box. This is how democracy works, by the way. My friends, did you think that was it? No, we have a video from the same room, another video. This is a security guard. Look at him. His only task is to make sure democracy is democracying, like doing democracy stuff. So it's all correct and proper. And he's doing his security guard stuff while this woman sneaks into this voting room, get this, on her knees with a bunch of ballots in her hand. Just ready to be fully democratized. She's going to democratize the hell out of this ballot box. Look at her coming in like a spy. Lasers everywhere, backflipping to the ballot box. And this is probably like 1,000 votes right here she has carrying. And the security guard is like, oh, what's going on over there? Oh, that's democracy happening. I better not interfere. And he's like, okay, I don't care. And she is sliding them in like there's no tomorrow. And the security guard, oh, I better go. You know, my work here is done. Democracy is working. He goes away and she is just sliding in thousands. Oh, another one is coming in. She's sliding in thousands of votes. And check this out, this is a banger piece of video. They're both stuffing the box with their votes. And of course the votes are for Putin. And they're such spies. Lasers everywhere, explosions, and nobody's detecting them. This is Mission Impossible, the Russian version. Look at them, both on the knees, praising the Tsar, making sure democracy works. Russian election, everybody. Welcome to Russia. All right, my friends. Now, in all seriousness, we will carry on with the military news. And the biggest news is that yesterday, Ukrainian drones struck the Engels Airbase, where, at the time of the attack, at the time of the Ukrainian drone strike, there were about 10 TU-95 bombers present. Now, these are Russia's only nuclear-capable bombers. These are Russian biggest nuclear-capable bombers, and they are left from the Soviet times, and Russia is not able to produce them anymore, and they're not producing them anymore. So they have a very finite number of these bombers. Also, these bombers are responsible for shooting out missiles that hit Ukrainian civilians. Every time there's a missile attack, possibly TU-95s are in the air. So they are a very high-value target in a way that they are responsible for civilian deaths in Ukraine, and they're nuclear-capable, and Russia cannot produce them anymore. So they are the target. So there were 10 strategic bombers present and 1 TU-160 bomber also. According to Russian Ministry of Defense, they shot down all of the drones as usual. They shoot down everything, everywhere, all the time anyway. Why even mention it anymore? Well, in reality, of course, they didn't. There were many strikes and we have security cam footage of it. But here on these satellite photos, we can just see this is the time of the attack. And we can see many TU-95s present. We can see TU-160s, Ilyushin 76s, Antonov 124s. But it's juicy targets. There's everything. Every more common Russian aviation platform is kind of present here. So there's plenty of targets. This is another angle of the Engels Airbase. And these are the strategic bombers right here. And we don't have any information about the hits, if they got hit or not. But we have CCTV footage of explosions, and the drone sound is like So there was no sound of Russian air defense firing, no missile sound, just a pure drone engine and an explosion. We can detect from that these drones were not intercepted and hit their targets. In the coming week, perhaps, we will find out what was destroyed. But this is a nice, juicy steak of a target for Ukraine. My friends, now we'll watch a video from the 54th Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, showing us a little minute of behind the scenes of how these Russian armored columns are destroyed. We always see these drone videos of these Russian armored columns, and one by one they hit mines and are destroyed, but we never see the command points and how they actually look. What the West can imagine is that Ukrainian and Russian command points are just like the Second World War, on the ground with the big radios yelling, shoot them, shoot them. In reality, both countries, actually, Ukrainians and Russians, well, this is how it looks like. Big TV screens, laptops, internet, tablets. I mean, it's as modern as any other command point would be. It's 21st century also in that war. Less noise, let's work. See, a usual Russian armored column. First and last vehicles are some kind of multiple rocket launchers, as we can see from the box. Or it's a cope cage, one of the two. And the middle ones are tanks, of course. The column is going towards Zolotarivka. So look at that. Huge screens with the recon drone up in the air. A recon drone is usually very high and has an overall visual. They have very good cameras. They can zoom in and they can have thermal, they can have night vision. They have long battery power and everything. The whole mission is visible on these huge screens. And from this recon screens right here, these guys, the drone operators, take information and pass it down to the units with Stugnas, wire-guided anti-tank missiles of Ukrainian infantry, and also FPV drones. So everything comes down to the recon drones, which are so important, but they're not like flashy and Hollywoodian explosive, so people don't really talk about them. But the recon is everything. The eyes over the battlefield, these are the big screens which guide everything. Every Ukrainian command and every mission on this battle guided by the recon drones. And the whole team is getting this information and passing it out immediately to the platoons and squads, immediately get the overall vision of what's going on, and they know how to act. Yes. Yes means usually, yes, we have it. That means one exploded. Yes, one exploded. One blew up on a TM mine. Bada-bim, bada-boom. But it's a tank. There's 6 more armored vehicles. No one stayed back. They're maneuvering. Get FPVs up. Where are Stugnas? No one said back. So, of course, if you're down there, you see 6 tanks heading your way. Like your first instinct is to retreat. But then the commanders, they see the overall battlefield awareness, or they know what's really going on, and there's no reason to retreat. I mean, they see that this Russian column is very destroyable right now. So just get the FPVs up there, get the Stugnas working. One is destroyed on a mine, we can get the rest of the 5. So this is how the whole operations are run, and this happens daily, every day. Banzai hit the least one. So the first one hit the mine, and they want to hit now. Banzai hit the last one. They want to hit the last one. So the ones in between, they would be not stuck. They can maneuver out, but it takes time. You have to go back and forth and then out, and then you will hit some mine. So you got a first, you got the last, and then it's Russian panic. That's the usual course of action. My friends, in this video, we can see a Russian military port, a full-out military harbor of the Russian Navy. And it is built not in Russia, but in occupied Georgia, in Abkhazia region, about 30 kilometers from it. And it's very new. It's actually being built right now, and half of it is finished, half of it, as you can see on the screen, is being built. Now, if Georgia doesn't ring any bells, or Abkhazia doesn't ring any bells, then we gotta go back to 2008, because Russia invaded Georgia in 2008. It's a Russo-Georgian war, and it was the last war before Russian occupation of Crimea, meaning before Russia started focusing on Ukraine. Now, why did Russia invade Georgia? Well, it's the same reason as Russia invades everybody in the last 20 years. Georgians wanted to get into the EU and into NATO and wanted to be EU mindset. They wanted to move away from the Soviet past, and the people were ready to do this. 1 or 2 more elections and Georgia would have been fully headed to the EU. Russia, when Putin was like, no, I don't want to be left alone in this stagnation, so I will pull Georgia back in. It's Russian playbook, not the first time. And I will read you very short analysis about the Russo-Georgian war because most of the world has forgotten about it, A, and B, did not react at all almost. Estonians really reacted because we know always we will be next. But Ukraine was the next. We know even now that we will be next. We're always getting ready for it. And they call it Russophobes for it in the West and in the East. Well, what can you do if you have a neighbor who always beats you? You better start fighting back. I'll read you the report. While the world watched opening of the Olympic Games in Beijing, Russian troops were invading the neighboring country. Even though Dmitry Medvedev was president then, it was clear who actually gave the order to start the war. Yeah, a little bit information why Dmitry Medvedev was president. Putin became president in 1999 or close to 2000s. Then, after his 2 terms, according to the Russian constitution, you cannot serve as the 3rd term. And at the time, Russian presidential term was 4 years. So Putin did 4 years, then was elected back for another 4 years, and then he couldn't do it anymore. So Dmitry Medvedev was elected as president. And then Putin served as prime minister. Funny. And Russia has always been a presidential democracy, meaning president has a lot of power. But when Putin was prime minister, it was a parliamentary democracy, meaning that the leader of the parliament, the prime minister, had the most power. So at the time of Dmitry Medvedev's presidency, Putin still called all the shots. And after 1 term, 4 years of Dmitry Medvedev's presidency, Putin came back and his term started from 0. So again, 1st term. Then he changed, after the 1st term, he changed the Russian constitution, which you shouldn't do as a president, for the term not to be 4 years, but 6 years. So he could be more president. So now he could serve 6 years. Then another 6 years, 2nd term. And then he changed the constitution for there not to be any limit for his serving terms at all. So slowly, step by step, he has fully assumed the role of an autocratic dictator in Russia, changing the constitution, appointing presidents and being a prime minister. The story is like that. And at the time of 2008, when Georgia was invaded, Putin was prime minister, Medvedev was president, Putin called the shot on this war. The situation then, Georgia, a small country, chose the path of pro-European development. Does it sound familiar to you? In 2014, the revolution of dignity. But Georgia already was on that path in 2008. And Russia felt nostalgia for the former great empire and saw another ship leaving the harbor. Part of Georgia still remains occupied, 15 years later. Did that August make Putin feel omnipotent and free to do whatever he pleased with the former Soviet republics? It's likely. And yes, I was young. I didn't even care much about politics back then, but I still remember that Estonia was getting ready to defend ourselves. And I remember the whole rest of the world didn't care at all. No interest. Nobody cared. Angela Merkel from Germany actually even appeased Putin, buying even more gas and more oil, getting cheaper prices. Putin bought Germany with the gas back then. I'm sure that the lack of global reaction, and the reaction was really expressing deep concern. I do remember it as a teen reading the news then. Further convinced him he could invade, annex, murder to his heart's content. The world thought that appeasing a tyrant and dictator will satisfy his appetite. Instead, it made him want more and more. 15 years later, we are fighting the largest war in Europe since World War II. Could history have gone a different route had the global reaction been different? Well, my friends, the seeds of 2014 annexation of Crimea and 2022 invasion, full-scale invasion of Ukraine and the war right now, the seeds of that were sown in the Russo-Ukrainian war and before that in the Second Chechen War. First Chechen War, 1996, Chechnya won. Then Second Chechen War, Putin went back into Chechnya, demolished the entire city to the ground, Grozny, and occupied Chechnya. The world did not react. Putin found out, oh, I can actually do this, and nobody cares, and I can buy the West with my cheap gas because I have a lot of gas and they need a lot of gas, and if I sell it to them, they're not going to say what I can or cannot invade. So he won the Second Chechen War. Then 2008, Georgia is like, okay, I don't like Russia and the Soviet past anymore because it's just horrible and my people are suffering because of it, and Europe is doing so much better, so we want to move to European sphere of influence. And Putin is like, well, I don't want them to go, so I'll pull out my old playbook of just lowering the gas and oil prices, flooding the European markets with it, and at the same time, I'll kind of just take Georgia really quickly. In 2 weeks, they destroyed the entire Georgian military. They bombarded everything and everybody. They shot and killed thousands of Georgians and took over most of the country. And then they pulled back a little bit. And now they still occupy Abkhazia. That's the second gamble Putin did. And it reaffirmed to him that the West doesn't care as long as it gives cheap gas and cheap oil, and that gas and oil are the ultimate weapon that he has. He can use them in the future. That gave him strength to believe that he can make the ultimate gamble in the future with his gas and oil weapon. And then a few years later, 2014, Ukraine had the revolution of dignity, meaning Ukrainian people had had enough with the pro-Russian dictator they had. They ousted him and had a pro-European democratic government put into place, which is in place until now. And Russia is like, Putin is like, okay, third time's the charm, time to pull out my old friends, oil and gas and invasion. My 3 old cards. He puts the cards in, he annexes Crimea, and he floods European markets with cheap gas and oil. And Angela Merkel, like in 2008, also in 2014, is like, ooh, danke schön, Putin, you're giving me oil and gas, danke schön. We will give you a little bit of sanctions, but thank you for oil and gas, and we will carry on. Just don't mind the sanctions. We have to do that because of international pressure. So a minor sanctions were put on Russia in 2014 compared to what I would have thought would have happened. It's very minor. And Putin got the third affirmation, like confirmation that yes, my oil and gas weapons work, my invasion works, my gamble works, the West is on my palm. So in 2022, he made the ultimate gamble. He had his oil and gas weapons, he has his army ready, and he's ready to invade, and he did it. And then the West reacted suddenly differently. Enough is enough. A red line was crossed. The West united, right? Huge sanctions. Ukraine started getting huge weapons aid. And this was, like, if you're a gambler, you know, you go to a casino, you win, you're on a streak, and then suddenly you lose. That's always what happens if you don't go out from the casino at the right time. After the last victory, if you walk out, you're the winner. You continue playing, you will lose because the house will win. Same, Putin is a gambler. He's in a casino. Third time he did it. Fourth time, now he is losing. He will lose. He's already lost because his gamble failed. We saw through the bluff. You know, Macron is opening his eyes now. Scholz is slowly following through. Britain and France and Poland have long-term cooperation agreements with Ukraine. United States is promising more aid in the future. Putin is screwed. This 10-minute rant is about the fact that in 2008 or in 1999, the Second Chechen War, this was the beginning of what we have today. Because we didn't react then and we didn't eliminate the small problem, we have a massive problem today. And now if we don't eliminate this problem, we'll have a nuclear problem in the future. So the choice is ours, not Putin's. What do we do now? What do we do today? It's not about reacting to Putin. It is about acting ourselves with our minds right now. This is the outcome of my rant here. My friends, United States security advisor to the whole country, Jake Sullivan, made a surprise visit, unannounced visit to Kyiv. And he said that Ukrainian support is bipartisan in the United States and that aid will be moving towards Ukraine, that long-term support towards Ukraine has not changed in the US. It's just a political internal strife right now. It's a political peculiarity of the United States system that the aid is stopped, but in the future it will carry on. Now this is good news anyway, because he's a very high position and he's talking like that. It's very good news. Now also there's bad news from the US, because yesterday the United States Department of Defense released that the F-16 fighters may be used by Ukraine only within the internationally recognized territory of Ukraine. That includes Crimea, of course, but it doesn't include Russian territory. Now, for me, I don't understand it, because if you know Russia, then you know that the only way to win over them or to have peace with them is to kick their ass. That's the only way. And they respect it, and then like everybody respects that. They also, if they lose, they respect you. So you gotta go and kick their ass. And the United States is not allowing us to do that right now. But again, I want to focus my message more on thank you to the United States citizens, not to point fingers. So yeah, thank you. All right, my friends, the time is here, and you know what time it is. Buy me a coffee, members. I'll be butchering some names today, so put you in your earplugs and get your popcorn. Queen Kelford, Sean Neike, Leafhead, Barbara, Kate H. Vickersham, Matthias Jan Gilbert Aubert, Doug Shaplake, Don McHattie, yes. If you like my channel, you can become a member and I'll be butchering your name into the oblivion, to the orbit. Until my next video, my friends, which is tomorrow, press the subscribe and press the bell also, because some of the people don't get the notifications when I upload. Be back tomorrow. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.